Hello everybody. So Leah had made an Easter or this bunny card at the stamp show last weekend with Blue Night rubber stamps, and I thought it was so cute. I had to pick it up. What a great card for Easter or a baby shower card. You know, it's just so cute to have this little baby bunny. You know, a great springtime card. And actually here is Leah's card. Do you want to say hi?
Hi.
So this one she had colored in with some chalks. So I wanted to do something a little different. I'm going to use brand new to me Spectrum Noir Ultra Smooth Premium White cardstock. I've never used this before, so this will be the first time I'm using this. This is 100 brightness, 100 pound cover weight. I've cut that down to 5 1/4 by 4 card size. I have the stamp already mounted in the MISTI. And we're going to be using some alcohol-based markers today. And this is a red rubber stamp. And I know that I want this one grid line up from the bottom. And the reason I do that is I cut my cardstock slightly bigger, so if I have to cut it down to fit, it'll fit just fine. Okay. Whenever you're doing any kind of coloring with alcohol-based markers, whether it be Copics or Spectrum Noir, I know Arteza has a new line of alcohol markers. Altenew has alcohol markers. I do not have the Arteza or the Altenew markers, so I'm going to be combining my Spectrum Noir with my Copics. You always want to use a good quality ink. This is Memento Tuxedo Black ink. This is the best ink I've found so far for alcohol markers. I know there are other ink companies out there. Believe me, I have tried them, and they all seem to kind of smudge or bleed, and this is the only one I found which does not. So I put it in the MISTI because it usually takes a couple of stampings to get it super black. Oh, that came out pretty good the first time. I'm going to do one more layer. All right, that is super black. All right, so I think I will start with the ground. They have as kind of a so I have E35, which is a Copic Chow. And I'm going to see if I can bring you guys down a little closer so you can see the coloring. Okay, how's that? A little better? Well, that's like super close. Oh, I did want to do a little pink in his ears. And this is RV02. And then this is E35, which I think is a darker brown I wanted to use on the ground. Normally I do my Copic coloring and printing on Nina Solar White. I will tell you, I noticed right away as soon as I opened this paper, the texture of it, it was super smooth. It reminded me of Stampin' Up's Whisper White and how super smooth it is. Almost like it has like this coating on it. I can tell you the ink is sopping right up into the paper, so it's not sitting there. So we will see how this blends. This is E33, which is a shade lighter, 2 shades lighter. Just going to kind of go in there and blend some of that ground up so that it's not so streaky looking. Okay, not bad. And then E37 just to do these kind of dirt mounds. And again, I love these stamps. I tell you guys all the time because the artist has already drawn in, you know, kind of the shading and the dark spots and light spots, highlights, things like that that we need to worry about. And this is the E35 I'm going back in with. Just kind of touching up right around him where it would be a little darker because of his shadow. Okay, let's do the grasses or the clovers. So this is G21. This is a Copic Chow. So I hope everybody has weather warming up into spring weather where you're at. It was pretty warm the last couple days. It's gotten up to the high 60s. And so I made a stop at the local Home Depot, or what do you call it, Lowe's, you know, the garden store, right? And I got a couple bags of dirt and mulch, and I have a very small flower patch in front of my house. I guess you could call it a flower bed. It's just right in front of the porch in front of the house. So I normally just plant some flowers in there. Now I do already have some tulips and daffodils and hyacinths coming up. So I just bought some petunias and some, what else did I get? Pansies and petunias, and I just planted those out front, and then I did black mulch. Normally I do red mulch. Where I used to live, which was outside in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, right up the street. You guys have all heard of Hershey, Pennsylvania. Yes, where they make the chocolate. Well, they used to sell what's called cocoa mulch, which is basically the outside shell of the cocoa bean, which is chocolate, right? And I don't know if they still sell it or not. If anybody's down in that area, if you can let me know. I would love to get my hands on some more of that, but it would literally make your garden smell like chocolate. It was so lovely. The only bad thing is if you put too much of it down and you got too thick of a layer, it would get fungus and grow mold. So you just had to be careful with how thick your layer was. But, oh, I love the smell of that mulch when I would get it. All right, so I'm just taking this darker shade, which is YG67, and just going in and darkening up our clovers a little bit. Then going back in with the light and just pulling that out. Again, I'm not an expert with coloring, but you know, with Copics, it's just that you want to have some colors that are close to each other, and the image does all the work for you. All we're doing is just laying down some of that color and then pulling it out with the lighter color. All right, so now we're going to do our little bunny. And I wanted to use this new marker you guys saw me pick up at Hobby Lobby. This is the Tri-Blend from Spectrum Noir. And it has 3 different colors. So it has GB1, GB3, and GB5 all in one marker. And they're marked, so you have light, medium, and then dark. And they're all bullet points. But I thought, how cute is this if you guys are just starting out? Let's start with this and color him in, and then we can add our way up to darkening the colors. And first time I color these images or use these stamps, I try to follow the backing. So these come with the stamps all the time, and they're already colored. And I just try to follow as closely as I can as what they have in the image, just to give me a feel for the stamp and, you know, what kind of color medium I'm using. So for this one, I was like, okay, I'm going to try to do Copics, which I'm not great at. And I know you guys are probably sick of my watercolor pencils videos, so let's see how we do here. And not doing any special strokes or anything, just coloring it in. So for people that say I'm not good at coloring, I can't figure it out, I think a big part of it is having a stamp that's easy to color, which I have been raving about these Blue Night Rubber stamps because they are very easy to color. The second thing is your paper. I can tell you this paper is super smooth. I do like it. But if you have Nina Solar White Classic Crest, I think it pretty much works the same. Okay, so now I'm going to go to GB3, which is the next color up. And where I see that it's darker is where I'm going to start adding the darker colors. So again, he's already shaded. Now on the second part, I am going to start kind of sketching, using a short stroke, sketchy kind of look on this. As I'm laying the color down, I'm just following the layers of the drawings here, the sketch lines in the image, and just following my pen to do the same thing. So I'm not really coloring it in, I'm just kind of short strokes, very sketchy, mimicking what the artist already has in the stamp here. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. Now I'm going to go in with the darkest color, which is GB5. Same thing, going to put those sketch lines in. Now for this, because it is the darkest, I'm going to put a little less of this color down. Now in the areas like up here on top of his back where it's super dark, I'm going to concentrate more of that color. Again, using the short strokes. Okay, and I think I'm going to go back in with the GB3 and just darken up some more of those areas. That'll soften some of the stroke marks from the darker marker, fill in some of the blank areas that are still a little light. And then back in with the GB1 and just adding an extra layer on those areas that are supposed to be lighter, where some of those stroke lines are showing up and carrying over. Just going to color that in and just kind of enhance shading, smoothing out the image. Okay, and I think he looks pretty cute. Now I did leave his tail white. It is white in the picture there. I am going to actually take a warm gray, W00, oops, and just put that in the little white part of his tail here instead of just leaving it completely white. And then to finish him off, we just need to add the sky. So I have the cloud stencil again from Blue Night Rubber Stamps. I'm going to be using some Altenew Parisian Blue. And then I have my little $5 makeup wand from Five Below. And I have a scratch piece of paper here somewhere. Just want to tap off some of that excess color before I go right to my image with it. Okay, I'm going to move the stencil down and move it over to the left a little bit. And tapping, and then tapping off some of that. And a small circular motion going over the skyline. And this time I'm going to move the stencil down and move it all the way over to the right. And I'm covering up his ear right there with one of the little clouds. And you can do as much or as little ink as you want. As I tend to go down on the paper, I do a little less ink so it kind of fades out a little. And at this point, if you want to change your stencil, what I would recommend doing is wiping that off. I just did some spray cleaner. Just going to take my rag, gently wipe the stencil off, clean off my background here, wipe the back of the stencil off. Now one side of the stencil is smooth, the other side is a little more matte. It's not going to hurt anything when you're using it. Just make sure it's completely dry. And I want to do that before I flip the stencil over because I don't want any of that ink transferring from the front directly onto our image. So now I'm going to move this down and I'm going to kind of go to more of the fluffier side of the stencil. Tap on a little ink, tap off a little ink, and go back in here. And again, moving down, tap on, tap off. We're just doing very light touch of adding some of this blue. You may not see a difference, but believe me, when you lift the stencil away, it's there. Now, just to finish the bottom, I'm going to tap off a little more of this color and just kind of go around the edges so that there isn't any kind of white areas, just blending those clouds. Tap on, tap off, go around the edges again. Blending over our clouds. And there we have it. Our Copic colored little bunny, spring bunny from Blue Night Rubber Stamp. So here's the original image. There's the name of the stamp if you want to head on over and order it. I will link their website for you guys. And here it is colored in Copics. And all I have to do now is I will probably cut him down a little bit more to fit him on a card base, mat him off, and then put him on the front of a card. Super easy, super cute. If you guys have any questions, post it down below. As always, thanks for watching. If you like this video, I always appreciate your thumbs up. I will link the links to Blue Knight rubber stamps down below for you guys. The stamp, the cloud stencil, and if you noticed my handy dandy handle for the ink pad, I'll link those for you as well. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. And as always, keep on stamping. Good night.